for other people to be able to not to be less afraid of things that that maybe they aren't exposed to that much. Um, and with Ava, I think they have a really great relationship, and it's very healthy, which is nice. And of course, like they're not without their challenges, but there's some really great Ava Lance stuff this season that we've been doing. People are really really excited about.
Ooh, good tease. Okay, I know a lot of people can't wait for that. And let's talk about last season too for a second because you gained a superpower, right? You gained clairvoyance, and when people touched you, you could see how they were going to die, and as well as for yourself. And it was a really cool storyline. Were you always hoping that you would play around with the superpower in this series? And how did you feel with how it all kind of wrapped up for you with that?
Yeah, it was definitely like I wanted the superhero power. I was like, because everyone was like, "Oh, you're on a superhero show. Like, what's your powers?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't have any technically powers, but..." And so it's like it'd be fun. I could just like things and like um and they're like, "Yeah, your power is like you can't see, but like if people touch you, like you see them die." And it was actually very difficult to do scenes the blind. Um I think because a lot of, especially in a group scenes, which we have a lot of what you're doing is just watching things and reacting. So like when you don't have a lot of lines in a scene, but you're in the scene with, everybody else, it's like you're able to look at things, and it's much harder when your character can't see. But I thought it was pretty cool that the disability was also her ability, and it was fun to play around with. It's always great to find new ways to get uh, bring out different parts of the character, and yeah, especially one that's been around for so long.
Yeah, for sure. No, people were psyched to have that as part of last season's storyline. And you mentioned the great cast. I mean, huge cast. People pop in and out. You work with some really fun people. How is it working with such a great ensemble and being one of the OGs in such a long running show?
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. Dom and I are always like, really, just it's just us now. But there's so many other people who've been around since like season two, and it still feels like they've been there forever. um, and our cast is amazing. We have been so lucky. There's like no drama. We have no cast drama. Knock on wood. um, because it is, like that's a lot of different personalities spending a lot of time together.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not always the easiest thing, and everyone is so different, uh, and from different like ages and experiences, and and it all works really well. And everyone is so sweet. We have such a good group. Like we are blessed, and everybody loves each other.
Yeah, and it comes across. I always feel like when you watch something and people don't get along and what you're watching, you're like, ooh, I sense something. Like there's stuff going behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so it's cool that's like one big family with you guys. I love that, and the fandom around the show is unbelievable. Fans have been saying they've watched this show multiple times from start to finish during quarantine. So, what is it about Legends do you think attracted such widespread, fast fandom to get that season 7? And what is one of the many messages you hope people walk away when they watch the show?
I think it is a very unique show. And I think people appreciate that. Like, it's not, there's nothing formulaic to it. So I think it's exciting to watch because it's different than all the other stuff that you've seen. Um, and I think a big part of the message of the show, like, and what it's about is it's not about like these perfect superheroes who like have it all figured out, and it's the exact opposite. It's like a group of people who are tremendously flawed, and and are doing their best, and but sometimes it's not very it's not the best. um And I think that kind of, I think that's really fun instead of watching like, oh, it's, you know, perfect superhero and this is what they're gonna do and save the day. Um, so I think that's what, you know, draws a lot of people to our show, and also like our show is a bunch of outcasts, like what the legends are. Like we're people who didn't fit in wherever we were, and we kind of all came together. I think another one of the big themes of is chosen family.
Mm.
Um, there's, I think, a lot of people out there, you know, either they have their chosen family and how important it is, you know, to kind of have that, and I think people also really relate to it because it's like you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be like this formulaic thing or like what it's supposed to be. Like it's more fun when you're not unique and different, and you're flawed but you're doing your best, and I think a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah, they're messages that I think we need more of, and I love that it's a show that reaches so many and it stands for such incredible things. So rock on, I love that. You're also a badass director. Let's like give you some props for a minute, and people are very interested and excited with your directing work and to see what's coming with that. So how has that experience been, especially working as a director in episodes on a show that you've starred in for so long? I mean, is that a total like whoa moment?
It's really cool. I mean, I love being able to be behind the camera and kind of have a say in all the different elements. Like I really enjoy getting to pick out like with the costumes and what the scene should the set should look like, and you know what the cars are and how it all goes together rather than just your individual part and show. It's fun to step out and be a part of the collective more. Um, and I think like I've been on the show for a while now, and so it's really nice to have another like an additional challenge, something creatively to challenge me, um and I really like directing. Like I really enjoy it. I think I've always been very right brain left brain. um, I'm not just like I don't know. I like the more logistical and like planning side of it. It's really fun to kind of meld all those things together, and also to work with the crew in a new capacity. You get to know them differently, and they get to know you differently. And yeah, this season it's a really special episode that I got to direct, which is cool. It's totally different from the one I did last season. Um, but it's really really cool. I'm super excited about it, and hopefully I'll do some more season 7.
Rock on. That's awesome. You're doing it all. I love that. And speaking of season 6, I know that you've been filming during a pandemic. So what has that been like for you? And I know you probably can't tell me anything about it, which I understand. But if you can't give me any little hints at what's to come, do you think the fans are going to react excitedly about the new season? Or what's one word you think that will describe the season?
I mean, I think that our show is a fun ride. Like if they come along, like it's a fun ride. Like I can promise you it's gonna be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, and working during the pandemic has been it's definitely has its challenges, but all in all, we feel very blessed to be able to work. There's so many people that you know are not able to work and are struggling or losing their businesses, and um, it can be such a difficult time. And so we're all very happy to be able to still kind of keep going. But it does present challenges. Like we don't have as much time to film. We're doing we all get COVID tests 3 times a week, and so it's constantly like you know, everyone's you're trying not to get COVID. You don't want to be the person that like, shuts down production or and slows it all down, and trying to keep everybody safe. There's a lot of you know different protocols and things that we've been figuring out usually we have like a lot of atmosphere, like smoke and stuff. And we haven't been allowed to have any of that. And so like trying to keep the look of the show with, but we have a whole like COVID team and everybody wears masks. And, yeah, it's an interesting time. It's for sure an interesting time.
Yeah, we're all trying to make it work. Do you have a lot more to film of the season? A lot more to go?
We have like 5 more episodes to shoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool. Let me get to a few fan questions. Now, these were the most popular fan questions I received, the top 3. Number 1, anyone you are dying to have come on the Wave Rider from a different show in the same universe of all you guys, and just a random character on a totally separate show that you would like to bring on. I thought that was kind of fun.
Totally separate show. Oh, well, one of my favorite shows is Peaky Blinders.
Nice.
What's the main guy's name? I don't remember what his character name is, but him.
Okay.
Oh no, what's his name?
I don't know.
Did you watch that show?
No, I know of it. I haven't seen it yet. But should I put it on my list?
Yes.
Okay.
He'd be, I guess, I just like the show, but would make 0 sense. But you know, whatever. And from our universe, maybe let's see. I mean, I guess like Candace Patton from The Flash because she's my she's my good friend, and we went snowboarding yesterday and had a blast. And I would love for us to be able to work together. It would be fun to kind of be able to be on the same sets together. Cool.
That's amazing. Do you guys film near each other?
No, they're at one stage, we're at another stage. We used to film next to Supernatural, but they left. Oh, Batwoman. We film right next to Batwoman, but I haven't seen them yet. It's so weird with COVID. It's like,
yeah,
you got to keep it all separate because, like, yeah, you just don't know. But I'll have to like go and find their trailers and be like, hey.
But she would be a fun one to see on the Wave Rider. I like that choice. Solid choice.
Yeah.
The second most popular question, aside from your own relationships, what's your favorite Arrowverse ship? This was like, I got this question like crazy.
Arrowverse ship. I mean, besides, this is what they mean.
There's so many.
Yeah, and like Odyssey, I mean, that's still always like great. You know, I feel like they're such a great story. So even if Sarah was gone, I'd say City.
Nice, nice. And then lastly, the hardest stunt you've ever had to perform in the show.
I think there was a fight scene that I did that was a oneer, which means that they don't cut. And it was a really long fight. And normally you can kind of break it up and do it just in pieces, and you kind of get that, and you can pause and try to remember what's next. And this particular fight there was no cuts. And so I had to do the whole thing, and it was like running up the stairs and like flipping on the thing and then throwing something and like hitting the guy and like all of these different things and if you slip up on like just one of them, it's like the whole shot's ruined. So that was probably, yeah.
That sounds...
Cutting it too. They ended up cutting it up, so it wasn't even one anyways. And I was like, well, great.
Oh my God, I give you credit because that's a lot of hard work, but rock on. It's pretty impressive. You put up an Instagram video once of you training, I think, not too long ago, with, what do you call that thing you had?
I don't know. They were like,
like a long stick, and you were whipping it around and all over.
Maybe a bow staff?
I was like, how are you doing that? It's impressive.
Yeah, Filipino martial arts.
Wow.
that stuff, and it's great for like weapons.
Yeah, badass. I love that. I have to share this with you. I've seen so many beautiful messages come across as I was preparing for the interview, and fans were writing in, and just amazing things written about your character. And I want to read one of them to you because it really kind of took me, back. Okay, Sara gets to be what so many of us aspire to want to be. She's an amazingly competent captain and fighter. She faces her fears and her issues boldly. She believes in the power of healing. And as a trauma survivor and someone who must grieve the deaths of many she loves, Sara manages to remain hopeful and to see beyond the limits of her own life to try to love and open her heart again. Wow, I read that and was like, holy crap, like what a beautiful thing for people to pull from what you portray, and what your artistry leaves for people to connect with is unbelievable. How does it feel hearing something like that?
I mean, it's you talk to anybody about how my like Sara has affected their life, and it's so powerful because it just reminds you like what you're doing it's important, even though it's fun and it's TV and whatever, like it still is important and can have an effect on people's life. And I think that is such an amazing message, and that's what comes across to people. And I think that is kind of the essence of who Sara is. And again, it's like the example of not being perfect. It's like she's and like yeah, there's so much stuff has happened to Sara, and she's had to endure and live through so many terrible things. And then at the end of the day, like no matter how many times you get knocked down, to still get back up, and to get back up with an open heart and not be bitter. Like that's the challenge. It's like to not let ourselves get too hard. And I think it's really interesting to see such a tough, strong character, who's still able to stay soft.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that she just helps so many people in their everyday life. I always say the power of TV and film is pretty amazing, and what people pull from artists and the work they put out is incredible. So I love that you leave that for your audience, and it's a special thing. Um, yeah, and lastly, before I let you go, your fans, they've been standing by your side for years. They are your biggest champion and advocate, and they look forward to seeing the new seasons to come. So what do you want to say to them, all of these wonderful people here who rock and cheer you on?
I say that I love them and that I appreciate them so much. And a lot of times, like on Instagram, I get messages and stuff like that, and I try to read a lot of them, but I don't really respond, because it's just a can of worms I don't really want to open. But I want to let everyone to know that I do see you and I hear you, and I appreciate you, and it really does fill my heart up to hear like what my character has brought to people. And they inspire me so much with those things. So thank you.
Caity, it's been a pleasure. I love what you stand for. I love the work you put out. I look forward to following your career and hopefully interviewing you in person in the future next time, post-COVID. But keep on rocking. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for hanging.
Sounds good. See
All
you.
right. Be well.
Thanks.